Welcome to the ultimate guide of ingots, ore, how to get them, where to get them. We'll look at all the different alloys, how to create them, look at some of the tier 5 rare resources and what they look like and how to get them. But basically, this is going to give a really good guide on how to get all the different ingots and ore, the very best melee weapons, range weapons, building structures, everything you can name, all kind of stems from this core resource of ore and all the variations. Before we dive into all the details, please consider liking and subscribing. Spend a ton of time doing this. I'd really appreciate it. It definitely helped me out. Also, if you just want to look at a particular resource, use the chapters. I should have one for each of the individual resources. One really helpful thing to know is that if you are looking to mine and get a lot of ore or resources or bound ingots, you need to consider the realm cards that you can play as your miner card. For instance, if you're after bound resources, so the ingots that drop from bound, they're quite potent. There's cards that will increase the yield of the bound resource. For instance, Maleficate card, and there's the Maleficate Apogee card. Now this will greatly increase the yield of bound resource, but does do damage to you over time. Then there's the industry card, wood or ingots. This is great for when you want to pump out a lot of ingots. Instead of one ingot for each thing, you'll get two. Then you have the greenhouse card that will similar sort of effect, but with plant-based products. So that's just an insight to be mindful of the miner cards when you want to do a lot of mining and or crafting. There will be something to benefit all scenarios. Okay, let's get into it. Before we go on to all the different ingots, how to get them, where to get them, the different alloys, how to create them, first we need to understand how the material system works in Nightingale. So we go to the glossary and have a look at the different materials, rocks, ore and minerals, and click on copper for instance. It'll say it has a realm power of 1 to 99 and it can be found in the desert realm. So it seems simple enough, right? We could just go to any desert realm and make sure we're in a level of 0 to 99. Well, it gets a little bit more complicated than that because of how the resource nodes or the ore nodes are going to generate. So let me give you an example. So let's have a look at sulfur. Now sulfur says that it spawns in every realm and at any level, and we know this by the realm power being all and it displaying the biome cards that it spawns in. That seems easy enough to understand. We can go to any realm and find sulfur. Technically, yes, but what we need to understand the tier system. So I've got over here the different tier of items that will drop in the realm power level. The realm power level being this number up here that will change depending on the difficulty. And this is where the tier 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 come into play, because we can see that to get tier 1, we need to be in a realm between 10 to 39. And what do we mean by tier 1? So the tier system is a way for us to get better materials starting from tier 1, then tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, and tier 5. So you'll note that as we go up, potency of the materials increase with each tier, with some exceptions to tier 5, which doesn't technically really exist in the game, but it does because you can get it. And if you build everything out of tier 5 stuff, it will give you a better gear or higher gear score, but it might not technically be as powerful or as potent as, say, plant fiber tier 4. And that's because you can see here maximum health on tier 4, the maximum health on tier 5 are different, and that's because the tier 5 is still in development. That will be coming in a more fully fleshed out way down the track. So don't worry too much about the tier 5, but this is just an example of why you would increase your realm level to higher difficulties in order to hopefully get the better materials. It's also worth noting that not every material has a tier system. For the most part, it's your wood, your plant fibers, your creatures, your meat, hide, bones, and those will increase in the tier system. Whereas, and most importantly, is that ore doesn't have a tier system as such, or not as obvious. Okay, back to our example of sulfur. So sulfur being found in all realms at any level. So what this means though is since sulfur will spawn at any level, and then I jump into say a very high level realm, what will this mean? Well, what this means is that as we increase the difficulty, we increase the spawn of more rarer nodes of ore with the difficulty level. So if I have easy, this puts me down to level 60. So I'm going to be finding in caves, for example, more coal, sulfur, not really the more rarer materials. However, as we increase the difficulty, that means that's going to increase the chances of more rarer ore nodes to generate within the realm. So in this case, we know in the desert realm, gold is found from level 100 upwards. So if I increase this to hard, that means that's going to be really pushing out the commonality of sulfur to the more rarer and potent gold ore deposits. Because I've increased the difficulty and increased the realm tier, the realm power level, if we go all the way to extreme, that means all the best best possible rarer materials that spawn at higher levels are more likely to be more commonplace, pushing sulfur to being the rare resource in a higher realm. What we're trying to grab here is that just because a glossary says that you'll find sulfur at any realm doesn't technically capture the true picture. We'll expect to find sulfur in the lower tier, lower level realms, and in some cases higher tier, but it's definitely less common because the more rarer materials like gold will take over some of those possible sulfur nodes. It's also good to understand that increasing the difficulty or the realm power level, the points of interest will yield more essence. The difficulty of enemies increases, their levels will be much higher, being able to take more damage. And more importantly, what we're focused on today is the resource nodes are of higher quality, correlating with realm level. Consequently, the lower quality resource becomes scarcer due to a fixed number of resource nodes. So just really wanted to drive that home. Apologize if I've spent too much time on that. So again, looking at the tier system, nearly all realms will fall into these categories depending on the difficulty levels you set. So just be mindful of your realm level and most importantly, your level requirements. Quickly cover the gear level required. So for all the different ores, they're split up into 5 tiers. The tier level simply refers to what level pick or pickaxe you'll need to be able to mine the ore node. So tier 1, 10, all the way down to tier 5, which requires a pick or pickaxe over 230. So that's referring to your gear score of that item. Okay, so starting off with sulfur. So as we mentioned, sulfur will be found in any biomes, particularly look for the caves. The desert region being a really good region to find sulfur, from anywhere from 0 to 80. Probably where I'd recommend your realm level being. So we've covered sulfur a lot, so we won't go into much detail about it. Probably found it by now. Now sulfur we don't use for ingots. We use sulfur for the most part, turn into gunpowder. And obviously we'll need coal to get gunpowder. When it comes to finding coal, I'd also recommend the same as sulfur to realms between 1 to 80, checking all your caves. Next we have Ayrium. This has a power level of 100. Found in the forest biome, you'll need pick or pickaxe of a level 200 plus to be able to crack it and mine it. The best option for this is pushing that realm level as high as possible, giving you the best chance to find it. Ayrium is blue in appearance and I oftenly find it in the caves, less outside, but I'm pretty sure you'll find it outside. But your best bet is clocking your realm level to 100, if not much higher, checking the caves and looking for your blue looking nodes. That will get you Ayrium. Looking at Ayrium stats, this is a great ingot to use for melee weapons. Also gives a bit of heat resistance and a range rating. So what range rating is, it's the damage fall off over distance. So this will increase your range rating by 20%, meaning it can do a little bit more damage a bit further. This can be great for things like pistols, shotguns that have a shorter range rating or shorter range distance. This will help with that. But obviously this is probably more looking at a good option for melee weapons. But think of range rating basically just increasing the range and how much damage you can deal at a longer range. Next we have Cobalt, which you can find in the swamp realms. Cobalt is a tier 3 ore, a level 100 pick or pickaxe. I tend to find Cobalt in caves, but it definitely does spawn in the swamp areas, particularly on the outside of the swamp. So on the outer edges, you'll find a lot of good ore nodes. Its appearance also does look very similar to Magnesium. Cobalt offers a 10% magic power buff, a rain and ice resistance of 20%, and a durability of 15%. So this could be a good option for making stuff durable for, say, maybe walking around at nighttime where it gets very cold. Also gives a nice rain resistance. So an interesting option for a few different scenarios. Not something I've personally crafted much out of. And again, in the swamp realm, look on the outskirts. It can be some really vast ore nodes of all different kinds. Next, we have copper. Copper is found at the desert realm with a realm power of 1 to 99. It only requires a pick or pickaxe level 40. The sweet spot for copper is realm level between 50 and 99. Anything below 50, you're just going to end up with lots of zinc. Perfect sweet spot is probably the 80ish realm power level. Copper wiring is also used in crafting some of the higher tier items. So it's something you definitely want to get your hands on or mine when you see it. You'll definitely find copper in the caves. You'll also find some nodes outside caves. You're in a realm between say 70 to 90. You head to a cave, you have a good chance of finding copper. But copper has got some pretty good properties as well, with the range damage of 15% and a magic damage of 15%, poison resistant of 10%. A good little boost to range and magic along with poison resistant, offering a nice overall boost. Good for swamp realms with a bit of that poison resistance. The nodes of copper having very much a copper appearance. Next we have the mighty gold with a realm power of 100 plus. Found only in your desert biome. This is a tier 4 ore deposit. So that means you're going to need a level 200 pick or pickaxe to harvest, to mine. The gold has some interesting properties. This is where things start to get a bit better in terms of your ore deposits. So magic power 25%. So obviously this increases your spell power, the damage, strength of 20%. So that's going to increase the chance that you're going to create some kind of reaction, whether it be staggering or stun. Strength doesn't impact your speed of harvesting compared to melee, which will will increase your harvesting speed. And with a blocking efficiency of 20%, gold having a very golden appearance, of course, and I generally found it in caves. Being a tier 4, it's a good idea to try get anywhere between maybe 120 to 160 level, but generally you will find it from 100 plus. So you could just go Ascended Realm on easy and you'll still find it, but increase your chances by increasing the difficulty. Scratch that. I just did some testing, and if you put it on to extreme and go to the Ascended Desert Realm, there'll be stacks of gold and silver. Very easy to find. Next we have iron. Iron you can find in realms with a power level of 1 to 99. So I believe Ascended realms on normal difficulty or medium difficulty start at 100 from memory. So if you do want to find ore in Ascended realms, you're going to have to knock back the difficulty to easy, which I think puts you at 60, which is actually kind of a good sweet spot to find iron. It's all pretty much what I would recommend to do is to go to the Ascended realms, knock your difficulty back to easy, and you'll find a good amount of iron. Alternatively, the real sweet spot is between 60 and 70. So your Gloom or Herbarium are very good choices to find ore. Or you'll find out in the open quite frequently. Find it in caves, but I tend to find it more just roaming around. Iron having a very dark brown appearance. Has some interesting properties too. So this is a good weapon for your melee weapons. Given a 15% melee damage, a 10% strength bonus, and probably one of the higher durabilities from the ore deposits with a 20% durability. So definitely a good option since you can access this at level 40. A good option to buff up your melee weapons. Next we have Magnesium. Magnesium is found in any of the realms at any level. However, you only tend to find it in caves. Now, the sweet spot is a level 60 realm, so you're Ascended on easy, or a good option is your Astro Desert realm on, I think it's hard or extreme, whatever gets you to 60 or above 60. Those are two good options. And of course, you can always fall back on your Provisioner and then maybe Herbarium, but those are going to be the sweet spots. Magnesium offers some incredible benefits for your ranged weapons, particularly your pistol and shotguns. It gives a stamina regeneration of 15% and a range damage 15% and a range rating. So again, that's going to increase the range fall off. And this is a really good option because you only need a level 100 pick or pickaxe, and a great option if you can't get your hands on Pursuit, which is another great option for your ranged weapons. And Magnesium has a similar sort of look to some of the other materials, so it can be hard to decipher, but a silverish kind of look to it. Next we have nickel. Nickel is one of the very common early game ores that you'll come across. Realms 0 to 49. You should find it in your Abeyance realm if you've chosen the desert biome. You can also find it in your Antiquarium, Astro, and Provisional realms on the lower difficulties, offering a nice little boost to your melee, rank, fire resistance, and durability. So it's a good option to craft some of your weapons where you can at this very early on, but outside that you probably won't touch it too much. Keep in mind that your nickel deposits look very similar to salt deposits, so it's easy to miss your salt because you think it's nickel. Next we have platinum. Platinum says it's potentially found in any power level, but only found in the forest. For me, I find it in the Ascended Herbarium realm on easy mode, and I tend to find it in the caves. Definitely a bit of a rarer resource. From memory, you need a 200 plus pick or pickaxe level, but the benefits of platinum are kind of crazy. You get a magic power of 20%, poison resistant of 15%, a durability of 25%, and a range rating of 30%. So this has many applications. This can be used on a variety of different weapons. It's a really superb metal that you can get, but it does require quite a high level weapon, so it is a bit more of a late game kind of ore that you'd be able to harvest, but a very good all-rounder for magic and range weapons. So another place you can find this is in your Provisional forest. Probably bump up the difficulty to hard or extreme. Check your caves. Platinum looks a little bit strange because it's got a kind of a green tint to it in the dark, but it's a slightly different green to Pursuit, and that will be the only kind of way that makes it a little bit easier to tell is that it does have a sort of a kind of brighter green look to it. And I would recommend sticking to realm power levels of about 60 to 70. Next we have Pursuit. Now this is probably one of the most sought after ore deposits, as this one is very, very good, if not the best or second best for your ranged weapons. It has a realm power level of 50. It is a tier 4, so mine still requires a level 200 pick or pickaxe to be able to mine. It is only found in the forest realm. You'll definitely come across it in your Herbarium, Gloom, but it's definitely much more less common. You may find it in the caves. A great place I would suggest is going to your Ascended Forest realm. It's pretty common there. You'll find it in caves, outside caves. It has a very distinct look too. You can't really miss it. Quite a nice greenish look to it, and it's very common for people to craft their ranged weapons out of this with the range damage of 25%, a critical damage of 7.5%, and a durability of 15%. An absolutely superb material to craft your ranged weapons out of. Next we have Shimmering. Shimmering is found in realm powers 1 to 99 in the forest realm. A lot of people use it to make bullets. I'm not too certain if there is any benefits of crafting bullets from Shimmering. From my testing, I didn't see any difference. Still in time, I noticed difference with with bullets is when you use your precious metals. You can get extra bonuses using a better material like gold, for example, when crafting your elemental rounds. Shimmering requires a pickaxe or pick of 40. You'll find it in the forest realm as mentioned, and you pretty much will find it in any of the realms. You can find it in your abeyance all the way up to gloom on easy, I think. So lots of options. You won't have any trouble finding Shimmering. Gives you a stamina efficiency of 15% and a range rating. Personally, I haven't used anything to craft from Shimmering. There are better alternatives, but if you want a nice looking gun or a Shimmering gun, I'm assuming it will have a nice appearance. I'll be covering that soon. Shimmering looks very similar to many of the other ore deposits, having a sort of very light, I don't know what you'd say, brownish reddish color, but easy to find. You'll come across it quite frequently. Next we have silver. Silver has a realm power of 50 plus, only found in the desert realm. I've noticed if you go to the ascended desert realm on extreme, very similar to gold, you'll find silver everywhere. Silver's great for magic augmentations, has a very good critical damage of 10%. There is higher, but it's not bad, and a very good magical power. Silver requires a level 100 pick or pickaxe to mine, and has quite a silver looking ore deposit. So this one kind of makes a bit more sense and it'll be easier to find. Again, ascended desert realm on extreme, you'll find plenty of it. Alternatively, you will find it a bit more scarce in your herbarium, in your gloom, but if you crank the difficulty up, you should see more consistent silver deposits. Next we have tin. Tin's just that very first starting ore. You'll find that everywhere in your forest abeyance realm. Not a bad little starting option, giving you a 5% critical damage and a durability of 10, requiring a tool level of 10. So very much pretty much from the get-go you can mine tin, and this is what tin will look like. And again, you'll find it everywhere in the forest abeyance realm, your antiquarium and your astrolabe provisioner. You'll find it quite often in all those. After a while you just don't even need it or very rarely use it. Next we have titanium with a realm power of 100 plus, found in the swamp realm. Now it's a tier 4, so it requires a pickaxe of 200 to be able to mine. Now for me, I had trouble finding titanium. You can find in the caves, but I would tend to find it more in the inner swamplands. Titanium is great for your melee weapons. However, if you bump up your difficulty in your ascended swamp realm, titanium becomes a bit easier to find. For me, my general strategy with swamp is check the interiors or the outskirts. You can find lots of ore deposits. Now, titanium is a good choice for your melee weapons or your tools with a stamina regeneration of 20%, melee damage of 20%, fire resistant of 15%, and a durability of 25%. So very, very good melee and tool ore to use. Alternatively, if you want to, you can try get it in the normal hunt swamp realm on extreme, the hard, but whichever one gets you over 100, I can't remember, but that's another option. It's a bit more scarce. You can find it. This is what titanium looks like. It's got a more pointed crystals. Next we have zinc, the basic or common ore deposit you'll find in your abandoned swamp realm or any realm between 0 to 49. Definitely a bit better stats compared to the forest and desert, so that's why some people opt in to start in the swamp realm. It does tend to have better materials overall. Zinc requires a pick or pickaxe of 10, giving a melee damage of 10%, a blocking efficiency of 10%, and a durability of 10%. We're going to move on to some of the more incredible and rarer deposits that you can come across, starting with the very elusive Titan's Fingernail. Now this ore or this resource, once turned into an ingot, will give you a critical damage of 12.5%, a magical power of 30%, a miasma resistance of 25%, and a durability of 20%. An absolute beast of an ingot. Titan Fingernail is a tier 5 resource, requiring 230 level pick or pickaxe mine. And the trouble is, it is very rare, only found in the swamp realm from 50 plus, so any swamp realm from level 50 plus. Now the Titan Fingernail is not an ore deposit, rather some sort of tree-like looking material that you'll find of yellow appearance. Kind of looks almost like coral tree, but you mine its little branches at the bottom. That will give you Titan's Fingernail. Now these trees are very rare, so whenever you come across them, mark them on your map for later, because it becomes such a bit of a chore trying to find them. There are definitely a lot of value in the Fingernail, a lot of potential to craft with melee and range weapon and magic augmentations. So very good all-rounder, and it is very much a tier 5. But keep in mind, you won't get access to this till a lot later. Now the Titan's Fingernail isn't really like some of the other resources. I don't find it any more common in the extreme ascendance realm to your basic gloom on easy or medium. So it's just a matter of running around the swamp and trying to find this very rare material. Next we have Einadia. Oof, it is a bit of a beast with a range damage of 30%, stealth rating of 50%, a movement speed of 20%, and a durability of 20%. So an absolute beast of a material to put on your ranged weapon. Some people still a bit of a debate on which one is better between the Pursuit and the Einadia, but given how you can get Pursuit at 100, whereas an Einadia requires a pick or pickaxe of level 230, being a tier 5 resource. Definitely one of the top ingots you can use for your ranged weapons. Now Einadia can be found in all realms, and you'll definitely be finding it in your abeyance realm, and that's because currently in the game you can find find Einadia from 3 to 4 different resources that look all very different, but will always give you the same Einadia. I don't know if that's going to change down the track. Feels like it's intended to be different resources, but for the now, we just have Einadia being able to be mined from 3 to 4 different very unique looking areas, and we'll have a look at these areas. Now, in terms of finding Einadia, you'll find it in most of the advanced realms. That's where I tend to find it the best, but you'll always just come across it because it has so many different points of mining. You will generally find it in most realms. I would say the forest realm and the desert realm are by far better compared to the swamp realm. In fact, I definitely tend to never really look for it in the swamp realm. My favorite place is definitely the forest realms. I find it all the time in all the different forest realms, from your advanced all the way up to your ascended. You can find it in the desert, but a desert also tends to have a lot of the better gems, so it's a bit less common. So I would suggest going to the forest biome. Next, we have the Fabled Sun Giant Ingot. You can't mine this. The only way you can do it is by farming Fabled Sun Giant. In order to get the Fabled Sun Giant Ingot, I believe it's pretty much by doing the watch. So the very end game, completing that, you'll be rewarded Fabled Sun Giant Ingot. So you can't be mined. Now, the Fabled Sun Giant Ingot is pretty insane. It gives a maximum stamina of 30%. So as it increases your stamina by 30%, regeneration is 30%, magic power 30%, and fire resist 30%. This really beefs you up. Great for magic and stamina augmentations. Great for melee weapons even. Definitely a top tier ingot. Next, we have your Pellucidic etched ingot or ingot. This one you will find as part of the main quest, where you either have to give the Sun Giant a configuration or configurator, or opt in to take on the Sun God and kill him, and he will drop the Pellucidic ingot. That's the only way to get it is from the Sun God. Do note, if you opt in for exchanging, I believe you can do that many times without having to actually fight him. Now, no level unlock because you can't mine this material. You can only get it as an ingot already. It's dropped from the Sun Giant, and you can go to any of your hunt desert realms to find the Sun Giant, whether it be just the normal hunt or the ascended hunt. He does frequent there. I've never seen a Fabled. I don't think there is. I could be wrong there. If you did find a Fabled, then alternatively you would get Fabled Sun Giant ingot. The Pellucidic ingot is amazing for your melee weapons, with a melee damage of 30%, which is one of the highest, and a critical damage of 10%, strength of 30%. Remember that strength doesn't affect your damage, but your chances of staggering and stunning, and a durability of 20%. So a very good top tier melee ingot. When it comes to the bound ingot, it's important to understand that when you go into a realm, you can click on the NPCs and check which NPCs are there. We know the bound bombardier is the one that throws the bombs or the grenades. That's obviously going to drop down the bombardier ingot. The bound knight, I believe, is the guy with 2 swords. He can drop the Lucanus. Also important to understand that the difficulty won't change the different bound or the different creatures. So that's going to be set by the biome and the card. So if we go into Ascended, and it's the Antiquarium Ascended, it does have the same bound, does have different other creatures. Just say if you want to find hollow metal, you'd want to go to a realm that has the bound assassin. And you also would probably want to try keep the higher level, so it's more likely to spawn the assassin, as the assassin will drop those hollow metal, those hallow metals. Then Gloom also has some special or unique bound, like the bound elite knight, which will drop the advanced luckiness from memory. The Cairo Siphon, we need to go to a realm with Cairo Siphon, obviously, so a good one for that can be the Hunt Ascended realm. Hunt Ascended realm is pretty good for all your bound ingots that will drop. You've got the assassin, Cairo Siphon, bombardier, the lamplighter, so nearly covers it all, I believe. And that's the Hunt Ascended, and the normal hunt as well has the same. But the other really good melee ingot is the Luckinus, the advanced Luckinus, which has a melee damage of 30% and a fire resistant of 30% and a durability of 30%. You'll find this drop from the bound, and it should be the guy with the dual swords. Luckinus has the advanced Luckinus, particularly melee damage of 30%. Very good choice for some melee weapons, especially because you can get it quite early. Next, we have the hollow metal. So we'll have the normal and advanced version. You can find the hollow metal ingots from the assassins with the sort of curved swords that jump around and can throw them or throw knives. Now, the hollow metal has excellent critical damage, especially the advanced at 15% with a stealth rating of 60% and a movement speed of 30. So next we have the Cairo Siphon. That's obviously, as we saw before, that's in the Hunt realms, and it's dropped from the Cairo Siphon bound, and it gives you a range damage of 15%, a heat resist 30, and a fire resistant of 30. Next we have the Bombardier, and that's a great one for your ranged weapons with a 25% range damage, critical damage of 7.5, and miasma resistance of 20%. You'll find that from the guy that throws the grenades, I'm pretty sure, but you'll be able to check on the NPC list as we mentioned. Next we're going to cover the alloy ingot. First we have your brass, which is your copper copper, and your zinc. Remember, we find zinc in realms from 0 to 49 power level in the swamp or your abeyance. Copper's in your desert realms between 1 and 99. And we have bronze, which requires copper. And then tin, you'll find tin in the forest abeyance realm and any forest realm from 0 to 49. Then we have your steel, requires iron. Iron's found in the swamp realm between 0 to 99. Sweet spot, I think, from memory. But if not, just go back and check the ore timestamp, but you're looking around 60, 70. Coal, you're going to find in most of the realms from 0 to say 50. Generally, the lower level realms are going to be good for coal. Abeyance realms preferably. And deserts particularly seem to be good for coal. So that's all your alloys. Again, your steel, your bronze, brass. Those are what constitute your alloys. For your precious metals, this is what constitutes for your precious metals. So we have the Titan's Fingernail, silver, platinum, gold, copper, and that's it. It's just the 5. And as we've gone through where to get all these, we also have to consider that there's ingots for your bishop, knight, rook, pawn. And I believe all of those go up to tier 3, and you'll find them in your desert realm. Remember that for the desert realm, if you want to get a tier 3 pawn, keep in mind if you do want to get a tier 3 pawn, you will need a pick level over 100. Same with the tier 2, you'll need a 40. Something to keep in mind when you go to collect the different bishop, knight, rook, and pawn mechanical gears. Remember, what you can do is you can get the mechanical gears from your automation rook, knight, pawn, and change them back into ingots. And here's just an example of some of the tier 3 options, and these can all be turned into ingots. Now we'll talk a little bit about what are some of the best ones to use. So your best melee damage ingots are going to be your Advanced Luckiness and your Pellucidic, both giving 30% melee damage. Me, preferably, I'd be going the Pellucidic because it's also giving the strength, increases the chance of stuttering, of stunning, or causing some sort of reaction. For magic, we have the Fabled Sun Giant, Titan's Fingernail. They're going to be your best option for ingots. Titan's Fingernail has a 12.5 critical damage, which is pretty damn huge. So a very good option, probably the better option of the two. And when you're looking at the highest critical damage for ingots, or the Titan's Fingernail, when it comes to range damage, Einadia is definitely the best choice. So some of the legends on the Discord have been preparing these spreadsheets, so I will attach them into the description. Please consider liking, subscribing. That will really help. And then you can go through this in a lot more detail in your own time. I hope you've got something out of this. I spent a lot of time on this, so please consider liking, subscribing. Would really appreciate it. And that'll be all. Tried to cover as much as I can. I might have missed one or two things, but outside that, that's got it. Thanks very much. Peace.